We're gonna try and talk over Maggie and Pirloff. There we go. You got it now. We got it now? No? Well,
I've at least got to turn down until we can figure out how to turn it off.
We welcome in on a Tuesday morning where you might be getting up and getting going. We have gotten up and got going, and we were battling a few little things, but we're ready to go, ready to give you some grades, ready to talk about some Monday night football performances, ready to get with J.C. Sherbet on what was a very good weekend for the University of South Carolina. Talk maybe even a little bit of recruiting as the Gamecocks, I don't know if recruiting momentum is picking up, but might get into that a little bit. And I apologize to Preston Thorne.
What's up?
Yesterday, you were stepping near the ledge. You were starting to get close to wanting to make an apology, a declaration. I'm not real sure, and I stepped on your toes, and we got off kilter there in hour 3. But I feel like you were ready to maybe, to a certain NFL quarterback franchise, apologize a little.
Yeah, well, I did. I had 2 quarterback apologies to make yesterday. Well, first and foremost, I wanted to apologize to Mr. Garrett Nussmeier. I know in an effort to rile up the fan base, I called you names. I misappropriated your last name. I called you Garrett Sussmeyer, but that was wrong on my part. I realized it was wrong when you made that clutch third down throw against us, when you got hit and threaded the needle to your wide receiver as you led a very impressive drive and you kept your composure amongst 80,000 screaming fans in Williams-Brice. I felt like I was in trouble. Then I watched a little bit of the game against UCLA. And even though UCLA is not very good, you were very good against UCLA. And so, Garrett, I am here to make a formal apology to you. I was not aware of your game, but also I was just trying to rally the troops. Didn't work. Also, Sam Darnold. I would also like to extend an apology. Your previous careers at the Jets and the Panthers and the 49ers led me to believe that you sir, were washed. And you're not, apparently. Apparently you're actually, maybe you were decent. Maybe you're pretty good. I don't know. But you have the Minnesota Vikings playing very well right now, and I'm going to offer you an olive branch. I would like to say I am sorry. I will continue. I did think that you were going to get benched for J.J. McCarthy this year.
I think that's what was going to happen.
That was going to happen. Unfortunately, my guy got hurt, but you have taken advantage of this moment. So to you, Sam Darnold, I'd like to say apologies.
Sam Darnold, 68% completion percentage so far this year, 657 yards, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Slightly better than the quarterback that was on Monday Night Football last night for Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence, you said this. You had a segment last week. I think it was last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. Quarterbacking is hard. And right now we're seeing that. And last night, if you didn't stay up and watch some Monday Night Football, you missed Trevor Lawrence struggling, and you missed Jaden Daniels rising to the occasion. It was an interesting night. Josh Allen last night was really good as well.
Joe Burrow was good last night.
Joe Burrow was good.
They didn't win, but he was good last night also.
It was really an interesting night for all the wrong reasons, because you had the Bills looking great and dominant and Josh Allen playing really well. On the flip side, you had Trevor Lawrence really struggling last night, and now Doug Peterson doesn't know what to do. He says so in his press conference. He didn't even rule out potentially benching Trevor Lawrence, although I think that would be crazy. And then you also had, as you said in the other game, a back-and-forth shootout, 38-33. The Commanders, old Patrick Perett's team, the Commanders pull one out, and it's behind the play of the one and only Jaden Daniels, who early on in his career, you're kind of like, well, that's pretty solid football. You know what you're doing, young man. Maybe that Heisman wasn't a fluke.
Yeah, I'm not offering an apology to Jaden. I'm just, because I didn't say anything bad about him. I just never said anything about him, period. I never really paid him much attention. He was running around at LSU. Yeah, he won some little trophy last year at college football. I guess it was supposed to mean something. Yes, he got drafted really high. I just haven't been paying the dude any attention, and apparently he's actually pretty good at quarterbacking. So I got my eye on him. 21
of 23 last night, 254 yards.
You said 21 of 23?
21 of 23 last night for 254 and 2 touchdowns.
He might have a higher grade than Robbie Ashford. Maybe.
Ooh, and we'll get to some grades coming up in the next few seconds. Joe Burrow, by the way, you mentioned him. 29 of 38 for 324 and 3 touchdowns, and they still lose last night.
I believe, and I think I heard this properly, there was not a punt or a turnover in that game yesterday. Zero.
No punt, no
punts,
turnover.
no turnovers in the game with the Bengals and the Commanders.
Yeah, it doesn't look like any, and then no punts at all. Washington, no punt return. Well, no punt returns. I'll have to go back and look and see.
If there's no punts, is that a good day or a bad day?
Yeah, no punts at all. No punts at all.
Is that a good day or a bad day for the punter?
Great day. You didn't screw up. Congratulations. You didn't let anybody down, nor did you run the risk of getting hit while you were out there. So we can get to that. We'll get to some grades for South Carolina. We apologize being just a few minutes off, but we are up and running here on a Tuesday morning. Got a lot to get to this morning. We'll give you a chance later on in the show to win some tickets to South Carolina and Mississippi today, so we'll get into that as well. So a lot to do.
Got official game time for that game?
We got an official game time. Me being the old guy, probably happy. The rest of y'all being partiers and people who love to tailgate, not happy. We'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get into a lot of that this morning. JC Sherbet will join us as well. So a lot to do this morning as we get you up and get you going. Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, you're listening to the early game.
And on the highway this morning, we are looking at conditions that aren't too shabby. Really no accidents to report. Not seeing any major slowdowns at this time. Certainly hoping that stays that way this morning. And as far as your forecast goes, well, it'll be okay at least for the next day or so. Might see some afternoon or evening storms today. Clouds tomorrow. High today, 91, 82 tomorrow. The afternoon and evening rain coming in from that tropical storm. And we could see some really heavy rain on Thursday night into Friday morning. So tropical downpours and winds are possible. None of that right now, though. It is currently 73 on the early game.
All right, get up and get at 'em. Let's go. Tuesday morning, and that normally means a little bit of Tuesday morning grades, Preston Thorne, where we slowly start to put behind us the Akron game and the first third of the season. 4 games are down. The month of September for the Gamecocks is over. We'll go to October 3-1 on the year, but the first 4 games down. Last week we did our interim reports on grades since it was the first quarter of the season. Now we got the first third of the season knocked out. But what are some grades for this past Saturday, a 52-7 victory over Akron?
Well, the story of the week, obviously, I think, was the way Robbie Ashford played against Akron. He came in as a backup, filled in competently, and did a great job leading the offense. And it's not based on what you saw. You saw him play well. You knew that. He was 15-21 for 243 yards and also 133 yards rushing. Great statistics, but also put up a high number, 93.8.
Very nice.
Grading percentage, 93.8 grading percentage, which again falls into that elite category. If you get 9 out of 10 on anything, you're doing well. So 93.8 for Robbie Ashford, and I think that's really important for him to see that he graded out that high. Wide receivers. Again, I think your eyes matched up with the grades. Mazio Bennett had the highest grade at 82.2. Some of the other guys filled in pretty well. Gage Larverdane with a 72. So those guys filled in overall. But that's all. Everybody kind of knew that. And everybody maybe couldn't understand that. I think where we get mixed up is what our eyes see with the offensive line. And do your grades match with the offensive line? Your highest grade on the offensive line was Rashawn Lee, 67.2.
That's surprising a little bit.
That's surprising. Why is that surprising to you?
Just low. Just feel like, but I don't know if there's a breakdown in what it doesn't look like there is. I can kind of look over the screen. On pass versus run, like did you have a run blocking grade of 80, but a pass blocking grade of 60, if that makes sense?
Right.
I'd be interested to know that, but I thought it might have been high. I'm not saying it was. I would have thought it would have been in the 80s, definitely not in the 90s. But just if you said that's going to be the highest one, I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of my that's what you're like, that's the highest one. I'm going, huh. As you say it, I'm like, okay, 78, 77. Yeah. No, 67. Oh boy, where are we going from here?
It goes down quickly.
Oh no.
It goes down quickly. No other starting offensive lineman graded in the 60s.
Oh, I don't know how they arrive at that, but okay, go ahead.
No other offensive lineman graded in the 60s, the lowest being Casey Henry. And this is really interesting because this goes back to the text. I believe it might have been Steve yesterday. I'm not sure who it was. But he said that he was looking at the right tackle, and he had his eye on him. And we said, we're going to come back and look at the grades. And your eyes were correct, sir. And we'll come back and maybe if you're not listening yet, we'll come back and give you your kudos on that. But Casey did not play well by any metric. So even if you were grading one thing or the other, his grade is low. His grade is failing. And that seems to have been a trend. I want to go back and look at the past games, but it doesn't seem like he's playing well. But nobody else on the offensive line played very well either. And that could be explained by a couple of things. That could be explained by them just being more physically gifted than the Akron guys and maybe just getting in the way of them, not executing their assignments. That could also be explained by Robbie Ashford making some plays with his legs where there were missed assignments, but he just made plays. There could be a lot of things, but that's probably not what you would like to see against a team like Akron.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'd like a little bit more of a deep dive on that to kind of understand what those grades were. Right tackle is something, as South Carolina goes into this bye week, Preston, that has been discussed a good bit through 4 games. And Shane Beamer, I think it was Shane Beamer, said last week, I think after the game, it felt like 4 guys would do the right thing and 1 guy would do the wrong thing. And then you'd kind of have a bust or a missed assignment. And it does make you wonder, is that something they really need to take a look at now? From my understanding, somebody brought this up, and I missed it. I just flat missed it either after the game or in the Sunday night teleconference, where Shane Beamer was asked about Tree Babalade not playing. We mentioned that yesterday.
We talked about it, but we didn't have an answer.
Okay, Shane said he's a little banged up and that I can understand. Here's my theory on this, that he's a little banged up, and this was not a game they wanted to waste him because if you can get away with him only playing 4 games, then you can still redshirt him. And I'm totally conspiracy theory here on this, but they know that if somebody goes down and you want to try and hold on to that redshirt year, you might have a bigger game where he can step in and help. Don't waste him in an Akron game just to get snaps, if that makes sense.
That seems fine.
That's the only thing I can come. It's either that or he's got a more significant injury than we realize and just isn't playing.
Well, one of those two things makes sense. I would just like a little bit more, and I think that's what the injury report was for. Would like a little more transparency on that, and not that people would start speculating, but when you provide that information up front, then people don't have to guess or wonder, especially about somebody like that who was such a huge story last year and seems to have fallen into the fray a little bit this year. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not even going to say that. I don't know what's going on. So I would like a little bit more transparency.
Yeah, that is something apparently he said on Sunday night that I just flat missed in reading the teleconference transcript. But with all that being said, I am interested if this is a week. I know you're always battling for a starting. Supposedly, you're always battling for a starting spot. But if you do take a look at that right tackle position and see if Babalade's a little more healthy, if maybe he's an option there, if you've got another option there right now and what they could do. I think Ja'Kai Moore was a guy that they thought maybe would go out there and be able to play, but he's been injured as well. It sounds like his was a little bit more significant in terms of him being able to come back maybe by the Mississippi game, maybe later in the season. But that's interesting on the offensive line. When you say that, real quick, what was the grade on Josiah Thompson, because that's something I'm kind of interested to continue to watch.
Josiah Thompson had the highest of the low grades.
So he was behind.
So Varshawn was well above everybody at 67. Nobody else was in the 60s. Josiah Thompson was 57.1. So he was the highest of the lows, I guess, whatever that means. I think we're all still in the mindset of giving Josiah a little bit of buffer room as a freshman, trying to work his way.
That's one where if he's better, and he seems slightly better in Game 4 than he was in Game 1. Like, I don't know what his Old Dominion grade was. If it was a 40-something, you're like, okay, there's progress happening. We can live with that.
We're working on a case study here, and I will say that the case is not going well for Case and Henry.
I don't think it is. No, I think you're 100% right on that when you mention that with Case and Henry. Now, the question is kind of like, do we give him a slight break because kind of like Josiah Thompson, even though he's been in the program for 3 years, but he's been injured. Basically, he redshirted and then was injured all of last year, and this is his first significant action. Do we give him would you give a little leeway? You're a professor. You've taught, you've graded. Do you give him a slight leeway from where he was at?
No, I don't think you can.
Okay.
Well, I don't think you can because his grades have gone steadily down since the first game.
Oh.
So even in that, yeah, even
as a person who started with 100 every day in the very first class and just worked my way down,
yeah,
I know how that occurs.
His grade has gone down since the first grade, and also I understand that point. But Josiah was just playing at Dillon, like
a year ago.
Yeah, a year ago. At this time, Kaysen has been in a SEC Division I program for this whole time. That means weight training. That means all the other stuff, the drills. He's been in. He just hasn't played in the game. So I understand your point, but I can't give him that.
I'm okay with that. And look, South Carolina's recruited very well on the offensive line when you look across the board on that. And so with that in mind, Okay, when do you start to look at some of these other young guys? And again, if Tree Babalade, what is his injury? I guess is what I'm going for. What exactly is wrong with him, and how limited is he currently? And we'll kind of continue to check. That also seemed. I think there was some times during preseason camp that I heard he was banged up, but I could be wrong. I don't remember if he was on a injury report, say going into LSU.
I can check that out,
and
but I don't remember that either.
Not only that, I know he played some snaps early in the season, so I don't know if this is something that's popped up in practice or where they're at or what's going on. But I think there is a question there of do you take a look if he's healthy this week at challenging Case and Henry?
I would say looking at the grades, somebody has to step up because the grades for Kaysen have been unacceptable.
803-404-6100. We'll get into some more grades. Look over to the defensive side as well. The one you mentioned there, Gage Larvindale, that's an interesting one because now they're saying he's back being pretty healthy. And again, I think you're seeing that wide receiver group slowly live up to what potential it could be. It'll be interesting to get Jared Brown back. You get Gage Larvindale kind of going. Mazio Bennett leads the team in receptions. You got him kind of starting to develop. Look, Michael Smith is in Josh Simon there. I mean, that's 4 or 5 pass catchers. I still love Vandravius Jacobs. I'd like to see him get more involved in the action because he seems dynamic with the ball. He's had a couple big catch and runs, one against Old Dominion, one against LSU that really stand out in my mind. I'd like to see him get more involved as we roll along. And we'll get to the defensive side of things, though, when we come back. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It's the early game.
Preston here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with your insurance company to take away the headache. They will come out to wherever you are. Are you at school? Are you at home? Maybe you're at work. Wherever you are, Absolute Glass will come out to your location, do the job, take it away, and the insurance company will pay. So if you're looking to increase the value of your home with new windows and mirrors, Absolute Glass will come out and take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
So we do have some slow going there on I-26 westbound before Highway 378. It kind of starts just after Lee Park Road, and slow down there. It looks like people are needing to stay left. Not sure what the cause of it is, but that is a slowdown. Also, if you're headed I-26 eastbound, getting off there at exit 115, heading to heading towards Dixiana. Once you get off the interstate, you're going to want to get left because there is a slowdown in the right-hand lane, an accident there. So aside from those, it appears things are moving along okay. We are looking for a high today of about 91, maybe a couple afternoon or evening storms, 89 tomorrow before the tropical weather comes in Thursday night into Friday, where we could get a lot of wind and rain. 72 right now.
6:35 as we get you going here on your Tuesday morning. Be safe out there. We'll keep an eye on the weather as this hurricane now maybe looking to make its way up. Probably a good week, I guess, for a bye week, as South Carolina shouldn't have anything to worry about. I'm kind of glancing at it. Clemson will kind of continue to watch and see what happens here up there this week. Is right now, I don't even know if has this one been named, Jen? Has anybody paid attention? I don't see a name on this one. It looks like we're just still sticking with number.
Yeah, I'm seeing like Tropical Cyclone 9 or something. I haven't seen a name for it, but yeah, it looks like right now it's going to get up into like the Panhandle, maybe sometime Thursday, late morning or something, but we could see some wind and some rain come Thursday night into Friday morning.
Yeah, and then keep an eye on that for Clemson this weekend as they get Stanford. 803-404-6100. Do want to remind you, September is Hunger Action Month. The Game and Hardee's are teaming up for the Hardee's Roundup. Just go to your participating Hardee's and round up your bill to the nearest dollar amount. All donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. Let's get out to the phone lines. Travis wants to weigh in on Robbie Ashford's performance. Travis, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
Good. Just wanted to talk about, Robbie. I thought in the LSU game they didn't quite give him the keys. It was run, and then, pass. And then this past game, I feel like Dow Loggins gave him the full keys and everything. So I think Robbie's a much better passer than Sellers, and I think it's going to be a battle who's Beamer going to go with. He's probably going to go with Sellers because he never pulls quarterbacks. That's one thing I have against him. But we'll see.
Well, I don't know if he never pulls quarterbacks, but that first year would suggest otherwise. But I don't think. Look, thank you for the phone call, Travis. I don't think that. I don't know, Preston. You're more of the expert when you talk about passing and what we saw from Ashford versus Sellers, through 3 games and then Saturday night.
I'd like to see Lenora Sellers with the game plan that Robbie Ashford had on Saturday night. I believe, like I said, I thought that was Dow Loggins' best designed game plan. It seemed to fit Robbie Ashford. And if my understanding is correct, it feels like Lenoris is just like +1 or 1.5 of what Robbie Ashford can do in each aspect of the game, as far as running, as far as throwing the ball. So it seems like he can just do it a little bit more. With that being said, Robbie Ashford played a really good game on Saturday night.
And I will say now, Akron's not good at all.
This is true.
But I want to go to this. That's why we did think it was important to get Lenora Sellers a game like that, to allow him to play in a game like that. Now, obviously, you didn't want to do anything to injure the ankle. Going back to the LSU game, Sellers made some great plays in that game, some really good passes. He still has a tendency to throw the ball high, which he's got to work on. I wonder this, and we'll get to some defensive grades coming up here. What I'm going to say is not good, but I do think it's worth asking a question. The offense that they ran on Saturday night, what did we say? How did we word it yesterday? More of a college offense, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
That's not Dow Loggins' forte, calling those plays.
True.
Is how much does he have to learn to call plays to fit these quarterbacks, as opposed to what was an NFL quarterback in Spencer Rattler, where it was drop back and throw it 25, 30 times a game?
That's a great point. One that I really hadn't considered, but you're right. His forte and his selling points is having all of these in the NFL background and doing all those things, but that's not what I saw on Saturday night. Like I said, you saw the option game. You saw a little bit of the play-action boot game. You saw a lot of different things in college formations and college style playing that seemed to fit the quarterback skill set. And that's what I would like to see moving forward.
And we're kind of, at least I am, I can't speak for you, I'm kind of spitballing as we go through this, because now that I kind of think about Dow Loggins calling these plays, you think about the first game, it was like, oh, I've got a running quarterback. Let's just run him. Oh, he runs. Spencer couldn't run. What was it, 18 carries? Lenore's just, oh, this is the offense we run. And then it's kind of gradually been like, oh, okay, this is how I mix in a little bit of the pass game, the short pass game, with the quarterback run. And don't, because you think about how crazy you go from, 18 runs in game 1 to 4 in game 2, to then appearing to have a decent match in the first half there with Lenoris. And I think to Travis's point, Robbie comes in and it's like, oh, I don't know what to do. Now I got to completely change up my whole game plan that I was working on. Then he gets a whole week to game plan with Robbie Ashford, and it seems to look very crisp and clean, even though it was Akron.
Yeah, it looked great. It looked great. And again, we always talk about this idea of coaches, but coaches are developing as the games go on, too. So coaches are getting better. They're figuring things
Hopefully
out.
getting better.
That's a great point.
I mean, hopefully getting better.
That's a really great point. Coaches are learning and hopefully developing as the season goes on. So maybe we've seen the latest iteration, because, as you stated, Spencer Rattler, Jay Cutler, Ryan Fitzpatrick, not known for being guys with wheels.
Exactly.
So this is something he's getting used to also.
And understanding how to set up one play to run another and so forth and so on. Let's go back to the grades real quick, because there was a lot of running backs that played on Saturday afternoon. How did that look? How did that shake out?
They were all in the mix. Everybody was about the same. Juju had a 70.9. Jawan Howell, 68.9. Oscar Attaway, 68.3. Rocket did not play very much, but and Matthew Fuller was 74.9. So they were all right in about the same area, which is acceptable numbers for those guys.
One guy who didn't play, David called in and asked, was DJ Braswell, or I'd have to go back and look at the snap count. I don't think Braswell got out there. I could be wrong. I know he did not get any carries. It is interesting to see if he has been passed. I know they were very high on Matthew Fuller, freshman. They're very high on Jawan Howell, a redshirt. No, I guess he's a sophomore. Howell is considered a sophomore, and maybe I think he'll be a redshirt sophomore after this year. I'm assuming that they're going to try and do that. That's my assumption. But you got to wonder if Braswell's just flat out been passed on the depth chart as well.
That's a very strong possibility, and that can happen. And that's why I'm always, I joke about depth charts, but I'm always interested, not really in the first spot, because that's where it gets all the flash, but the real battles in the depth chart go on in 2 and 3, and the guys who are making it, we'll see. But we won't see this week against the SEC. We'll see when you start seeing the travel list, when you start seeing SEC games where they have limited amount of people who are dressing out. That's when you start to figure out who's actually in consideration to play. So against Akron, everybody can dress out. Everybody gets a chance to play. Everybody's there. These next couple of games, you'll start to see some more thinning out. I
want to go back to something we just talked about, coaches, that I meant to add in there real quick. We talk about Dow Loggins having to improve, get better. One I'll give a credit, maybe extra. I don't know how we want to word this. I was going to go back to our grades from last week. I really am impressed with what's happening with the wide receiver group. I'd like to see them move quick to improve quicker, because you need them, Lenoris or Robbie, whomever needs them. But at least through 4 games, as we kind of mentioned about Gage Larvin, I feel like we're seeing improvement. And you look and you go, boy, that might have been a really good decision to go with Mike Furry as the wide receivers coach, if you say he is the true one behind it, developing everybody.
Yeah, and that could be a strong possibility, especially considering where they came from in the first game, where Shane kind of broke character a little bit and pointed out to a group. He's like, hey, these guys are not blocking.
Right.
And we've seen a huge improvement in that. So I attribute negativity to the coaches. I also attribute success to the coaches.
We also joke, sometimes off air but on air, about the intensity of which Mike Furry tweets. And if he tweets like that, I can only imagine he's not a guy that you want to go. We talked about this last year. You need coaches where when you win but you don't play well, you're like, man, I don't want to go to practice. I don't want to go see. And they won that first game, but the way Beamer addressed everything, you got to think that maybe those wide receivers are like, I don't want to see Coach Furry on Tuesday.
They definitely did not want to see Coach on that one. As I'm just trying to pull this very quickly. His last tweet, which was 23 hours ago, 2 alarm clocks, 2 exclamation points, double exclamation points, double exclamation point. Get out of bed, get live, be grateful, locked in, level up, move up. Briefcases, chickens, double exclamation points, thumbs up, spurs up, let's go. So that was 23 hours ago.
Like I said, I can only imagine, if you're that intense when you're putting out tweets, I can only imagine when you get in front of a room. 803-404-6100 is how you can wait. If you want to do so, we'll come back. I'll get to the text line, and we'll get to some defensive grades as well. You're listening to the early game.
Hey guys, it's Preston for your broker, my broker, Benji Getzi at Buford Lending. Buford Lending is a true mortgage broker offering the widest variety of government mortgage programs and the best mortgage experience for clients through its state-of-the-art technology and record low interest rates. Their goal is to make your next mortgage experience and closing easier, cheaper, faster, and friendlier. Since 1997, Benji and his team have served thousands of investors with their dreams of real estate investing. And Buford Lending specializes in DSCR loans and fix and flip financing. Benji and his team are VA, FHA, USDA government loan experts, and they offer competitive jumbo financing. You can also get conventional and construction lending from the good folks at Buford Lending. Benji has helped over 8,000 families experience the dream of homeownership. So shop your rate with Buford Lending today. Call 843-524-2404. That's 843-524-2404.
So can I break in with a little traffic news real quick?
Go ahead.
Since we don't really get to do any for, the next 20 minutes or something like that. But I think this is going to be significant. I-26 eastbound, kind of just after Airport Boulevard, so kind of closer to like mile marker 114. Just happened, a 5-car accident. Yeah.
Denny Hamlin involved?
No, I don't think so. So his dog's still good. But yeah, 5-car accident, I-26 eastbound just after Airport Boulevard. That's probably going to slow things down a little bit. People heading towards Orangeburg and Charleston. So FYI.
Be safe.
Yeah, be safe out there.
So 26 would be, you said eastbound.
Eastbound.
Jason waited in bad wreck on 321 in front of the Pilot, close to 26.
And that's, Ernest called, and Travis gave us this one about I-26 eastbound. I asked him if he had anything to do with it. He claims no. So he's, I guess, good on that. But Ernest called earlier and said the same thing. They right there on, as soon as you get off I-26 eastbound, there on exit 115, heading toward Dixiana in front of the Pilot. Yeah, there's an accident there too, so you need to stay left. Ooh, no rain yet.
No rain yet. All right, be careful as you're driving out there. Get up, get going, but drive safely this morning. Both hands on the wheel. Pay attention. Is this a glass half full or glass half empty situation? Text always in Bill. In the first day of class, you start with a 0 and have to work your way up. You haven't earned any points on day one. I look at it as I start the first day with 100. And I work my way down.
You would.
I don't know. I understand. I can go both ways, and we can go both ways on that. But I feel like I start with 100. That first quiz comes in with an 83. We've already worked our way down.
What do you think from a teacher perspective?
Yeah. Where do you?
Yeah, you definitely start at 0.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
I go with 100. I feel
anything. Like
I haven't done anything wrong either.
So you just automatically should just get.
I'm at 100. I haven't taken a test. I haven't missed a class.
You've earned nothing. Why would they give you? Why would you?
And I haven't failed anything yet.
He's saying in his mind.
In my
Well, that's how his mind works, though. Give me.
That's what I'm saying.
Give me.
Is that a glass half full or glass half empty situation? I'm starting at the top, only to then. I want to come in and impress you first. I want to start with 100
and impress me, so you can get up to 100.
Only after a few weeks, are you like, he's more of like a C. It's more of like an 80.
I like the earning potential better. Just because it's not given. You can't just go in there and say, I'm 100. No.
You haven't done anything wrong on day one. You're starting at the top. That's the way. And then you got to maintain. You got to maintain that standard of 100.
It's actually, to me, this is very reminiscent of the chicken and the egg debate. Which comes first? Mm-hmm. Kind of same thing. Like, do you start at 0 or start at 100?
I'm a positive guy, Jen.
Okay.
That's all I can say about that. 803-404-6100. David weighs in on the offensive line, Preston. Is it talent or coaching? It just seems to be the weak link on the offense. He says since Shane's been here. I feel like it's been, I guess, the 2000 offensive line, the 2020 offensive line that Kevin Harris did so well for. I think we've all blocked that year out. It was just so bad on so many levels. But I don't know.
I can't specifically answer that question. What we do know is that they have told us, and all the measurements say that they've recruited really well at that position. Seems like they've brought in the guys. They looked the part, all of those different types of things. And that would have to lead you to the other part of the equation as far as coaching and execution, in my opinion.
Again, you get the bye week seems to come at the perfect time. That opens the door for improvement coming up on your toughest stretch of the season here, and we'll continue. Maybe they make strides. Maybe Case and Henry is challenged a little bit. There's no press conference today, by the way. There'll be no Shane Beamer press conference, so it'll be something we'll have to get to next week and see what he has to say. By the way, reminder: Carolina calls tomorrow night. No Shane Beamer for that. He's out recruiting. It'll be Lamont Paris and Derek Scott on Carolina Calls tomorrow night, 6 o'clock right here on 107.5 The Game. Grades for the defense.
Maybe a surprise to no one. Kyle Kennard graded out the highest with the defensive line, 73.8. The rest of those guys in the middle were all mixed. TJ Boogie, Tonka, DeAndre, all from 65 to 64, essentially about playing the same, which is fine. Thing to maybe keep an eye on, Dylan Stewart did not play well. Matter of fact, he played poorly. According to PFF, graded out very low. That might be something to keep an eye on. Not sure what that means, but it's just something to look at.
Well, it's what I asked you the other day about him maybe through 4 games being worn down. I mean, he's and look, that LSU game was a physical game for him.
And also people saying number 6, block
That's true,
him.
too.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, we can figure out a way to block this guy.
Yeah.
We have to prioritize him. So that's just something to pay attention to. What you want to think about with Dylan is as long as you don't see his effort declining, as long as you don't see him running around making plays off the ball, then he's good because he's still a freshman. And when you look at his body, he doesn't look developed the way when you look at him versus Kyle Kennard, you see grown man versus freshman.
Well, I don't know. I didn't even think about this until you just brought it up. I would be interested to know the age of those Akron offensive linemen. Because let's be honest, no matter how good you are, if you're going against a 23-year-old physically developed big guy, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
That is totally different. Last week against LSU, he went against a physically developed older player.
First round guy.
Yeah. And I do wonder about that. It doesn't matter because let's be honest, if you're at Akron, you're probably not leaving for the pros after 3 years, and maybe you transferred down to get to the tackle position. You transferred somewhere big. That's what I would be.
Yeah, I'd say for Dylan, even though the grade is low, as long as he has the effort and you see him making plays off the ball, chasing plays down, using his athleticism, he's still a plus to have out on the field.
We'll get into a few more grades, a lot to get to, and we'll get into some more of these text messages. York weighing in. I agree with him. Bill and Gamecock Larry, 12-0 till otherwise proven. It's a good point. Gamecock Larry and I, two positive people, two peas in a pod, if you will. Bill Gunner for Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. I love being a part of the Love family because of the way they treat their customers, the things they want to help you with, like offering you the largest selection of vehicles anywhere in the Midlands, 14 acres to be exact. That's exactly why Love Chevrolet is the #1 volume Chevrolet dealer here in the Midlands. Also because of the way, again, when you come on the lot, they treat their customers. They want to talk to you. That sales staff, so incredible, so knowledgeable, so friendly. They want to talk to you. They want to walk around that lot with you. They know purchasing a car is a big deal. You're going to spend some money on it, even with the great deals Love Chevrolet has, and they want you to feel comfortable. They want you to feel happy. They want you to know exactly what you are buying. That's why I love being part of the Love Chevrolet family, and you need to go out and check them out. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. You can also visit them on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet today. Again, the $1,000 low price guarantee always in effect there. 14 acres of Chevys. So go visit Love Chevrolet, and together, let's drive.
Okay, so definitely out there on the highways, a couple incidences we do need to let you know about. If you were heading I-26 eastbound and getting off there at exit 115, 321, heading towards Dixiana, there is an accident in front of the pilot station. Understanding you need to stay left in that area. Also, I-26 eastbound just after exit, the airport exit. So somewhere around exit mile marker 114, there's been a multi-car accident. So that's going to be slowing things down. Just happened a few minutes ago. Thank you to Travis and Ernest for calling us and getting us updated on that. Weather-wise, we're looking for a high today of about 91, 89 tomorrow, and then some of the more significant rain from that tropical system coming in Thursday night.
Up and Adam, Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, about to be joined by J.C. Sherbet, as he does each and every Tuesday as we get you up and get you going. I want to remind you the halftime show and the postgame shows will broadcast live from the Ultimate Long Drive World Championship at Par T 3209 Charleston Highway in West Columbia this coming Friday. You can get out and hang with our friends out there at Par T. Again, it's 3902 Charleston Highway out in West Columbia. It is the Ultimate Long Drive World Championship. The halftime show and the postgame shows will be broadcasting live out there this coming Friday. Hopefully, the weather will hold off. Otherwise, Jay Phillips looks like a wet rat out there with that hair when he gets all wet. Have you ever seen Jay Phillips when he hair?
Have you?
We
you
do
seen
that.
Him come out of a shower, or
we
what?
do that. He is, and Jay will openly admit this. He sweats a lot.
We were having that discussion in the press box with Terry the other night. I'm not sure why.
Odd conversations y'all have in the press box. But yes, that was, yeah. So, but go visit them. Go hang out there this coming Friday. The halftime and postgame shows live at the Ultimate Long Drive World Championship at Par T 3209 Charleston Highway in West Columbia. Joining us now, as he does each and every Tuesday, J.C. Sherbet, to talk about what he saw, and we'll talk a little recruiting as well, talk a little NIL as well, kind of update some of that. But JC, welcome in. Up and at him this morning. How's the puppy dog doing?
Oh, he's good. He's sleeping right now. So
Don't wake him up.
Oh yeah, he'll wake up soon. Don't worry. Don't worry about that. He'll end up getting up and barking at some point. There he goes.
Yep, there we go. There, he's up. He knows it's radio show time. Something you and I have talked a lot about in the past. Having games like Saturday night, and I'll let you and Preston kind of get into it, because Preston, you went through a lot of this from your time as a redshirt all the way to your senior year. But JC, or something JC and I used to talk a lot about that we've kind of discussed, blowing somebody out, allowing the depth to go out and play, allowing your backup players. And JC, I'll start with you. It's something that, again, it is so important when you have guys who you need to develop. Clemson, this is what really made Clemson so good there during their run, is blowing people out and allowing their backups to get meaningful reps in a game, so that when players moved on to the NFL, those backups had experience.
Yeah, and you also look at it in the SEC especially. It's someone on the JC and Morgan podcast over the summer, Jake Crane, who's a kind of a national guy, mentioned in the SEC, it's a game of attrition in a lot of ways. And you look around the league, and a lot of times, everybody's pretty good at the beginning. A lot of times the teams that struggle, like Carolina last year, are the teams that are beat up. And blowing teams out, helps you rest your guys and not risk, not necessarily, serious injury, but, the bump, bruise, and normal things that happens when you play football against good teams. And you're out there for all four quarters and things like that. So the human body needs recovery time, and that obviously helps in a lot of ways. And it was really good to see some of these guys get in. Davis Bevel, comes to mind, And look, I was pretty impressed with how he threw the ball. I thought that doesn't look like the same guy I saw at Oklahoma start against Texas a couple of years ago, or saw in high school at Greenville High or at Pitt. Kind of nice, moved around in the pocket, slung it in there. He's got a good arm. But that guy, everybody you talk to there says, he's come in here last hurrah back at his home state after kind of a college football odyssey, which happens to guys these days. And he's a leader, I mean, he doesn't play a whole lot, but he's an older guy, a team guy, and you like to see folks like that do well, and just everybody on the team kind of likes him and looks up to him. And so that kind of helps the morale of an entire team. I know Coach Beamer said this week, the big thing was get over the LSU loss. And I think winning 50-7, and then when everybody gets to play, that's a good morale booster. We kind of lose sight sometimes, Bill, the fact, there's all these guys on the roster. These are the friends of the starters, the buddies, the pals, the amigos, if you will, to quote Tommy Boy there. Or no, I'm sorry. That was the Chris Farley Down by the River skit. We're going to be buddies. We're going to be pals. We're going to be amigos. But these are the friends. And you always want to see your friend do well. And that makes everybody feel good. So, I can't say enough about the positive impact of that. As fans and analysts and doing what we do, that doesn't a whole lot. There's some things here and there, but it does do a lot for a team, and I think that's why these games are scheduled. I think that's why coaches like them. That's why players like them. And the only downside is if like in the opener with Carolina, you don't handle business and it's closer. Or, some teams are losing these games. Then that could be very negative. But there is a positive upside to football games like this, and certainly the Gamecocks took full advantage of that Saturday night.
Preston, you were nodding right along with a lot of that.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that, JC, because the main word you said was morale, and it sounds corny. There's no analytics to it, but when you're a guy that's been practicing all year, you're on scout team, you're not part of the game plan, and you finally get a chance to dress out and play and get some actually quality reps, it just does something for you moving the season forward because everybody feels more invested in the whole team's goals. So being able to get these guys who we know as the season gets deeper, they probably won't get many opportunities to play. It's almost can't put a value on what that does for the team spirit. I think you were dead on with that, JC.
Yeah, and Ole Miss is coming. So I mentioned Davis Bevel, and I don't know who is playing Jackson Dart on the scout team. I'll just be clear on that. I'm not saying he is.
Right.
But he kind of would be the perfect choice, in my opinion. So Davis Bevel got out there. He went 4 for 6 through a touchdown pass. Don't say he's been a little bit better spirits and a little bit. I mean, not that he's not, but after going out there and playing, and hey, I got on the field, I made the band play, and all that good stuff. This next couple of weeks, he's playing Jackson Dart on the scout team. He's probably gonna, approach that with even more enthusiasm and more preparation than normally do. I mean, these are still college kids, and we know when I was in college, there were some days I was up, some days I was down. When you're young, it's kind of like that. So I'm spot on with you, Preston. I'm so glad you backed me up there because obviously I didn't play at that level, and you did, and so that means I'm not just talking out of my patoot here.
803-404-6100 if you want to send in a text this morning. We'll get to a couple different things, JC. Number one, younger players that stood out. I've got a couple that we'll discuss, and then also talk about this offensive line. Preston gave some grades earlier, and there's one particular position on that offensive line that probably needs to be discussed a little bit more. So we'll get into all of that coming up in the next segment. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, JC Sherbet, Jen Jensen. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. Let me tell you, I used Jacob just a few years ago to help get me the interest rate that I needed, the loan that I needed with another bank, and now Jacob is helping people with First Palmetto Bank, who's locally owned and operated right here in the Midlands, and they have quick and precise underwriting because they are locally owned and operated. And you can check out an incredible option that First Palmetto Bank has. It's called the Community Reinvestment Product. If you're looking to move to Richland County, now is the time to call Jacob Crowder and First Palmetto Bank, 803-719-1005. The Community Reinvestment Product is for Blythewood, Northeast, Southeast, and the I-20 corridor. It is a 4.99% interest with a 5.075 APR on a 30-year fixed mortgage. For more information, call the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder, today, 803-719-1005. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you.
I-26 eastbound, a multi-car accident just after Airport Boulevard. So you're going to probably want to be staying right, but emergency vehicles getting on the scene. That's going to slow things down a bit. I-26 eastbound around mile marker 114. Also, I-26 eastbound, when you get off the interstate there at exit 115 onto Highway 321 as you're headed towards, say, Dixiana, there is an accident in front of the pilot station, so be careful there as well. And some slowdowns, I-26 westbound around Highway 378 should be moving along a little bit better now, but just anticipate that. And 91s are high today. Might see an afternoon or evening storm. Then 89 with clouds tomorrow before the heavy rain comes in Thursday night into Friday.
7:14 as we get you up and get you going on your Tuesday morning. Want to remind you there are only a few craft beer cards left, and right now you can still purchase one. Just go to 1075thegame.com, and for $79 you can get 12 craft beer locations, $30 at each brewery. That's a $360 value for only $79. But again, there's only a few of these craft beer cards left. So to go today, go to 1075thegame.com, click on Sweet Deals, and purchase your craft beer card. Tuesday morning, which means JC Sherbet joining us. And one of the things that we'll get into here, JC, is probably a topic as South Carolina goes now into the second, the second portion of the season, the October month, where we've all looked at and we've seen Mississippi and Alabama and Oklahoma. That offensive line played better the other night. That's back-to-back games of running for 200 yards. But Preston gave some grades earlier, and the one that now starts to stand out is Casey Henry at right tackle. What is your assessment of the offensive line really through the first 4 games of the season?
I thought they took a step back against Akron,
really?
Quite frankly. I mean, I know that, it's Akron. I mean, you had their nose tackle or the big natty just, in some cases, just running free. The pocket collapse, pass protection too many times. This team, with offensive line, there's 2 things that need to be better. Number one, this team can't run between the tackles that well. And I don't know that anybody in college football really is these days, but it's tough sledding inside. I mean, ask Oscar Hathaway. I mean, he had a good game with 2 touchdowns, but his yards per carry were not that much, and he's primarily a between the tackles runner. They had to bounce to the outside a lot. And that's been, the case just about the whole year. I mean, there have been some big runs up the middle. I mean, Lenore Sellers, obviously, against LSU and stuff, but it's not consistent enough. They're not getting a push enough up there. And the second thing is they don't handle blitzes well at all. And I don't know if that's all on the O-line. But even in that Kentucky game, the Kentucky, Greg McElroy, I've said this before, said on the broadcast, Kentucky doesn't blitz a whole lot. Well, the start of the second half, when it looked like, what's going on out there, Kentucky was sending blitzes. So that's a mental thing, and some other stuff is like you got to recognize that, because I guarantee you, Pete Golding and Kane Womack and especially Brent Venables, they're going to send pressure. I mean, it's you watch South Carolina on film. I mean, that's they really struggle at times with that. So I thought overall, if there was the starting offensive line in particular, could have played a little better on Saturday night, and that's that's not a criticism because necessarily that the season's not doomed. I mean, I think they got better between Old Dominion and Kentucky, and they got better again between Kentucky and LSU. I mean, they played certainly pretty well against LSU, well enough to win the game. But it's a spot that's, I would have some jobs open this week. Now, I don't know what you're going to do at right tackle if Henry's not the guy. I mean, I know he's given up some pass, some pressure on that side on the right, but he's also played pretty well, especially in the run game. He's a good player. He'll have better days. I mean, I'm looking kind of in there at guard specifically sometimes. And you've got some depth and some options there. So if I'm them, and Beamer mentions this all the time, that there's always competition. I'm having a lot of open competition at that spot, and I don't know that they'll come out with a different starting 5 against Ole Miss or make any changes. I don't know if it's that dire, but you kind of want to just shake some of these guys. I mean, it's hard to shake an offensive lineman, but it's you kind of want to say, hey, look, man, I want to pour some more aggression into you and consistency, because that's they've got good players up there. It's just a thing here and a thing there. So if there was any disappointment at all, it's just like, well, they didn't really get a push like you would have wanted to in the run game, and then this team continues to struggle on offense when teams send 5, 6, 7 guys.
Can you shed light? I think Shane mentioned a little bit in either the Saturday night postgame or Sunday teleconference. Tree Babalade is a little banged up. Is he an option, or what do you know about his situation right now?
Well, Not at left tackle. I mean, Josiah's playing pretty well. I had a coach from another school, actually, we talk every now and then, that broke down Carolina's film and said 74 special. I mean, he gets better and better every week. Could they flip him to right? Would he be a better option than Kaysen out there? I don't know. There's an open date. If you remember, I think there was an open date before Florida last season, and they moved Rashawn Lee out to right tackle. And frankly, that was a good move. We ended up getting hurt in the game, but the Carolina offensive line was really actually the best it had looked all year in that game before Lee went down. But so I don't know. I don't know what would happen with that. Tree is a good player, but if he's not 100%, and kind of, that's a liability if you don't have a guy that's out there. We found that out last year because by the time the Clemson game rolled around, none of those guys were 100%. They were playing, but they were banged up. So I don't know if that would be an option or not. But I would certainly, before this Ole Miss team comes in, just make sure, the offensive line has a lot of healthy competition here the next couple of weeks to maybe just say, look, you can't go out there and play like that, or this team's not going to. I mean, they're not going to survive this gauntlet. I mean, you're probably, as beatable as I think Oklahoma is. You can't go out there on the tail end of this 3-game stretch, which is going to be tough, and just let them sack you over and over and blitz what out of you, and you'll lose that game. So, I think it's important to kind of get that right.
I hate to do this, but I'm going to do it because I do think it's a legitimate discussion during the bye week. What do we make right now of the actual on-field coaching job of Lonnie Teasley? And I ask that, JC, because of the fact that you said it. We think, on paper, recruiting is better. The talent is better than it's been. I'm not technical enough to look at them. Preston, I kind of defer to you on this and the technique. We had John Strickland in here last week. And, JC, I know y'all have John on y'all's program. Right now, what is the disconnect with this line? Last year, I think I went to blaming more of the strength and conditioning program. I think they're stronger this year. They look stronger. But what does seem to be, Preston, I'll go with you if you see something that you've noticed in there.
Yeah, just talking to some of my offensive line guys, there's two real things, and we're going to get really, really quickly football handsy.
Good.
All right. You'll hear offensive line coaches say this phrase over again: butt down, back straight. Butt down, back straight. And what you hear them saying is you got to keep your butt down and get a base, and you got to keep your back straight so that you can see things. It seems like a lot of times this team struggles with the blitzes and the stunts and fronts because they're putting their face into blocks, and they can't see those things. So when you're able to keep your butt down and keep your back straight, you're able to see. And then the second part is communicate and have conversation. John Strickland's talked about that, them being able to talk. That comes from reps and doing it in practice. So that's something that is correctable, but it hasn't been corrected yet, and it seems like we've been struggling with this over and over again. So when you see those guys leaning into blocks and not necessarily sitting back, getting their back straight, getting their chest up, butt down, chest up, you hear that butt down, chest up, you hear that over and over and over again. It seems like that's sort of the technique reason as to why they're not able to handle so many things. And then the communication. Switch, in, out, me, you, whatever, however it works, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of that. So I think the first part you have the players, which is the most important part. Now you have to be able to coach them to get those things done. And as JC said, Brent Venables is going to sing fire from every possible angle, and a lot of these guys will. So they're going to have to get that corrected.
JC, I mean, again, I just, it's a discussion point that I think has to be had. I don't like talking about people's job security, but I think in this situation, you got to discuss it a little bit because for this program to move forward, right now they're in a great position, 3-1 after 4 games. There's a lot of winnable games remaining on this schedule where South Carolina can have a special year. That offensive line has to get better. And I know there's not going to be a mid-season change. There should never be, unless it's just horrific, shouldn't be a mid-season change, but this is something that I'll watch over the next 8 games to see where this program goes in the future with some of this young offensive talent. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I agree with everything Preston and John said, about butt down. And that drives me crazy because when you see a play blow up and you see 4 guys standing straight up, before the ball carrier even hits the ground. That's not offensive line play as I know it. But I don't know, I mean, people aren't really like cut blocking anymore and stuff like that like they were back in the 80s. So I have, maybe I'm wrong, but I like that because when you can't see, it's really hard to pick up at anybody, right? And offensive linemen aren't necessarily like these natural, like quarterbacks can kind of feel pressure sometimes. Offensive linemen, they probably don't have that, natural instinct and stuff to kind of see it coming. So I'm in agreement. As far as coaching goes, you have these days, analysts can coach. You have Sean Elliott, you have Greg Atkins on the coaching staff. If there's some ideas maybe that they have, and I'm sure Coach Teasley leans on them, but maybe sometimes it's better to get a second set of eyes on it and dig into some of the specifics. And, maybe that'll be fixed, or maybe it's just, hey, you got to get better fundamentally, guys, and you work them that way. I mean, I don't have the specific answer, but, from what Preston and John both said, that's there's probably a coaching fix there, as far as, like you said, fundamentals and then recognition and being in a position to do that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to do this anymore, but offensive line coaches, I've seen coaches tell offensive linemen to take their helmets off and block without your helmet so that way you don't put your face in the block. I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to do that anymore.
That seems fair.
That seems to be against safe sport and NCAA violations today, but I've seen several offensive linemen. And guess what? When you don't have your helmet on, you're probably not going to put your face in the block, and you'll probably be able to see the things that are happening. So I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying it's something that we should do anymore, but I am saying.
But there's some logic to that.
I've seen it work in the past.
Go for it. It's a bye week. Just tell the defensive lineman, hey, don't crush him in the nose.
No. It was you block him, and if you put your head down, your face might get crushed, or you can do it the right way. And
I'm all for it.
A lot of times they would end up doing it the right way. That's all I'm saying.
803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in if you want to do so. We'll come back. We'll get into some younger players. We'll get some of those grades that we talked about, and we'll get into some of the younger players that stood out to JC, to Preston, to myself. I've got a few that I really was impressed seeing on the other night, and I do want to go back into that conversation. That was a little bit of the negative side, talking about the offensive line. Jason, we've praised the work that Mike Furry is doing with the wide receivers and seeing their development. I want to get back into that with you a little bit as well as we roll along. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, joined, as always, on Tuesday morning by JC Sherbet. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air, where this year Roy and Dana Finley have shaken things up. That's right. For the next 12 months, they've been telling their customers no. You heard that right. If you purchase a brand new heating and air unit here in September, you will have no payments and no interest for an entire year. That's all 12 months. You won't have to make a payment and won't have any interest applied until September of next year. So call AAA Heating and Air today. Do what I did. Give them a phone call. Get a brand new heating and air unit. 803-677-1500. Again, that's 803-677-1500. You can also get a free estimate today. You just need to tell them Bill Gunner sent you. And, of course, don't forget, right now, AAA Heating and Air has the My Oldest AC contest taking place. Go to myoldair.com. If you think you've got the oldest AC unit in the Midlands, you can win a brand new unit. They're going to draw a winner for every 100 entries. Go to myoldair.com. Whatever you need, AAA Heating and Air is going to take care of you. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Certainly been a little bit busy out there this morning on the highways, still working that I-26 eastbound multi-car accident just after Airport Boulevard. I-26 eastbound, when you get off at exit 115 onto 321, stay left. They're getting things cleaned up from an earlier tie-up there. As far as forecast goes, a few afternoon or evening storms are possible tonight. 91, 89 tomorrow with some clouds. Some rain could start coming in the evening on Thursday, and that's where we could actually see some of the more tropical downpours and winds from that tropical system that is in the Gulf at this point. That will be Thursday night into Friday, and then that should be making its way out. Saturday looks to be clear. Right now, it's 73 on the early game.
Reminder, the halftime show and postgame show will be live from the Ultimate Long Drive World Championship at Partee Golf, 3209 Charleston Highway in West Columbia. It'll be this Friday from 12 to 6, so you can swing through there, hang out with Jay and Elijah and Terry and Tyler, and go see everybody. It'll be 12 to 6 this coming Friday, providing Jen's weather report ends up being slightly wrong. We don't have rain on Friday, but to go out and visit them, again, 3209 Charleston Highway in West Columbia. It'll be the Ultimate Long Drive World Championship. All right. Covered, I think, what a lot of people have been discussing there with offensive line and their performance and the coaching, and certainly that no changes are going to be made, at least publicly, right? No change. We know that. No changes publicly. Maybe Sean Elliott gets his hands more involved in that. Go ahead, JC. You were going to say something?
Yeah, I don't even think you have to change it after the year. I think if they're, like I said, with these days, with everybody being able to coach, and with Lonnie being such a great recruiter, because he is, and players love playing for him, I mean, that matters. You don't want to, if there is, and we find out, I mean, who knows? These guys could gel and play great for the rest of the year. They're capable. You just hire a guy to help. Preston, he played for Lou Holtz, right? Charlie Strong was a first-time coordinator when he came to Carolina. And Lou Holtz hired him because he's good. But he also had John Gutekunst, who'd been a head coach and a coordinator. Chris Kosh had been a coordinator. He had help. John Fabris early on, at least for 1 year. Lounsbury. I mean, he had some guys that helped him. Same thing with Brian McClendon when he was the OC. The first time when Muschamp hired him, that first year, it was kind of a collaborative effort with guys that had called plays before and things like that. You've seen that in college football, where he's the guy, but he everybody kind of helps, and that's what coaching's all about. And like I said, with the rules now, with the way like Mike Shula is not just sitting there taking notes like Freddie Kitchens did; he's helping coach the team. And that's the benefit of that, is that you don't necessarily have to go out because you only got 10 spots and cut people's heads off. You can kind of make it work. And so I even after the season, I don't know that you necessarily have to make a move. You just kind of fix it if that is a problem.
The only thing I'll say to that, and we'll move on, is it's not a talent issue to me anymore. Now, it's young. They're young. Babalade, I mean, you're talking about Babalade's a 4-star. I think you and I have said this. Trovon Ball probably should have been a 4-star, but I think at the end he ended up being a 3-star. You're going to have Mark.
Yeah, he was Under Armour All-American, so that matters.
And he's been good. He's certainly been a very bright spot. I think he's a guy that maybe could challenge on that interior. Marquis Anderson is a 4-star. Cam Pringle is coming up, who's going to be a 4-star. Obviously, Josiah Thompson is a 5-star. You've already got Cedric Surratt committed. Again, you don't want to throw a true freshman in there unless they're like Josiah Thompson. That's 6 off the top of my head that I'm thinking of that were 4 stars or better. I know the recruiting rankings don't always mean everything, but you're not lacking talent right now on that offensive line, and that's what has to be fixed. They're young. They're taking some bumps and bruises, but this is, I don't want to say a window because you want to keep recruiting at a high level, and they're in on some really good 2026 guys, but you've got a nice collection of players. Plus, I like some of the guys like Jatavius Shivers on that line. I think you've got some guys coming in, JC and Preston, that are talented players. It's to me, it's not a talent issue. This isn't a matter of just saying, well, they just got to get some dudes in here. You got some dudes on that line. They got to be developed.
Yeah. And they're healthy. They're healthy. I mean, they're not. We haven't seen outside of Big Tree. We haven't seen any kind of the horror show that was last year up there. And you got more depth anyway. You mentioned Shivers, however you say it. Carolina, when he decommitted from Vandy, the contact I have on the Vandy staff said that kid was the type of kid that red shirts, and in 3 years he's all SEC. I mean, Auburn and Michigan wanted him badly when he decommitted from Vandy. Those two schools have pretty good track records on O-line, especially Michigan. And then Blake Franks is a really good player. People forget Carolina beat Clemson on him straight up. And he had an Alabama offer too, so from Eric Wolford. So he's a bright up and comer. You mentioned Surratt. I love him. I think he's going to be really good in a couple of years. You mentioned the youth, and that is true to a certain extent. But you also on the inside, you got a 6-year guy and another 6-year guy, and a 5th-year guy. Henry's a 3rd-year guy. So they're young at left tackle, but. And the depth is young, but these guys are starting are old. Bell's old, Simpkins is old. So you're right. They do have some dudes.
Well, I guess my point was you just have a collection of young players, and I forgot about Blake Franks. You're right. There's 7 or 8 young guys that should form. Nobody's asking for the top SEC offensive line, in the league, but should form a group of players that put you in the top half and should have a competent running game. And we'll continue to watch that. Like you said, it's 4 games in. You got a bye week. Maybe some things kind of come together in the bye week. You're going to need them for Mississippi, for Alabama, and obviously, as you mentioned, for Brent Venables. On the flip side of that, JC, Preston and I kind of talked about the wide receivers. I don't know if my expectations were so low. Although I am the person who likes to show up at 100 and then work my way down, so maybe my expectation, I don't know, but we talked about that earlier. But JC, I like what Mike Furry seems to be doing, and I think you've got guys emerging at the wide receiver position. And what I really like is Vandrevius Jacobs is a young player. Obviously, Mazeo Bennett is a freshman. Jared Brown can come back next year. You've actually this wide receiving group. I kind of like what they're doing, what Mike Furry's doing with that group.
Yeah, and I know everybody wants to talk about Nick Harbor. I still think Nick Harbor's best days are ahead of him. I mean, he still does job number 1 quite well, catch the ball. I mean, that catch the other night, I mean, if you can't catch, that you're when that ball pops up like that, you're not going to, secure it. And Nick really, if you think about it, has done a really good job of making – I mean, he does fight the ball a little bit because some of it's like his lack of experience at the position, maybe natural pass catching ability, which can be developed because there's a lot of guys around here that are in the NFL now that went through. I mean, Deebo Samuel and Brian Edwards went through a massively bad period of drops back in the day. Josh Vann led the SEC in drops. Those guys all turned out pretty good. But yeah, you're right about that. I've always been bullish on these guys just because there's so many different options. They all can run. They're all fast. That you kind of think, well, 3 or 4 are going to emerge. Mazeo Bennett, it doesn't surprise me at all what he's been doing. I don't think the fact that true freshman is probably your either wide receiver 1 or 1A is a bad thing. I think he's just that good. And the rest of the guys, you mentioned Jacobs, 3 catches for 90 yards this year. He's 30 yards per catch. That's good. I'd like to see him get the ball a little more. And then you have to understand with the stats, too. Carolina threw it the other night, I think, 27 times. I think that's the highest pass attempt total of the year. And they just haven't thrown it. I mean, Kentucky, Lenore's had 14 attempts. They just haven't thrown it that much because they've been able to run the ball at times, and it's kind of the way the games have shaped up. So I'm bullish on these guys. I think Gage Larvadan coming in and making those two, that's what he does, is make Miami of Ohio. He makes long, big yardage plays deep, and he is a confident player. Poor guy struggled with health, unfortunately, but he was real healthy in the spring, and what I was told was this guy's healthy finally, and he's explosive. He was the best receiver they had. So to him coming back and doing that, I hate that I think it was a 2-point conversion got called back against LSU. because he caught it in the end zone. But I think his confidence will get going now that he's had some success. And then the other guys, I mean, I want to give a shout-out to Eric Rice and my man Eric Kimmery. You guys know him. When Eric Rice came as a walk-on from, I think, AC Flora, Eric Kimmery said, this guy's going to end up being pretty good. You watch him. Because I think Kimmery recruited him or what. I don't think Eric would mind me telling you that. And lo and behold, here he is. And I hated that long pass. He didn't come down with an end zone, but, he's probably down a little bit. He's a walk-on, but he's a pretty good player, So it was good to see him. But I'm with you. I think, when you look at the receiving core now, who's coming back as the season goes on, who's going to play, and then the recruits they have coming in, and hopefully they add a couple of more, and then 2026 is big at receiver, and they'll probably hit the portal for. I mean, I think they're in good shape for the future, and really for the rest of the season. You get Jared Brown back, you've got Mazio, Gage. Hopefully he's coming on. You still have Nick Harper, Ventravius Jake. I'll tell you this, Delvon Campbell is close, and another unfortunate callback, of that long pass from Ashford the other day. I think it's just sometimes with receivers, it takes one or two catches to get them going and get them that confidence. And I hated it that I think the Akron safety's helmet hit the back of Delvon's cleat, but he would have housed that pass the other night. He's pretty fast, good after the catch. I did not know that. So that's another guy to keep an eye on. But I'm with you. I think it's the narrative about there not being any receivers at Carolina is wrong. It's just there's not a guy that, goes like the kid from Ole Miss, Trey Harris, has 38 receptions the first 4 games. There's not a guy that's putting up those type of numbers, but the numbers can be deceiving. I think there are players there.
We'll come back. We'll wrap it up here. Talk a little recruiting. South Carolina got some guys on campus recently that maybe were something to keep an eye on. We'll talk a little bit about that with J.C. Sherbet. You're listening to The Early Game. Bill Gunner from Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years they've been the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry, and it's that history that is your assurance that their professionals will provide proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility, and they'll do it in a manner both safe and pleasing to you and your operation. It doesn't matter whether you're here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, wherever you are in this great state, Mid-State Roofing is ready to help you and your business. Call them today. They're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're thinking about your roof, and they're ready to help you. So give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. You can also visit them on the web. MidstateRoofing.com is the way to do that. Mid-State Roofing, again, open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You'll speak with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee, and they will help you with a maintenance contract. Give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
They do say perfection is a journey, and our journey took us to Carolina Stone Craftsman just outside Columbia in Chapin. We renovated a bathroom, had to replace the cabinetry, and of course that meant we needed to find a countertop. So we went to Carolina Stone Craftsman. I'm telling you, we're so impressed. Felt right at home right away. Toured that showroom that they have, which is fantastic. Learned more about the marble and the granite and the quartz, how they sculpt everything with the highest craftsmanship, and they're honed with family values, delivered with professional results. It all was true. There's so much to choose from. They were really so helpful in helping us figure out what selection would work best. And every step of the process was absolutely fantastic. From measuring, visiting the showroom, installation, it was all fantastic. If you're in the market for countertops for your kitchen or bath, I encourage you to reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman and, of course, tell them that Jen Jensen sent you. They do say that they invite you to take them for granted. Carolina Stone Craftsman, just beyond Columbia and Chapin and beyond your expectations. CarolinaStoneCraftsman.com.
$7:50 as we roll along here with J.C. Sherbet. We will wrap up this segment, move into hour number 3. J.C., real quick, I wanted to ask you this as we were talking wide receivers. A name that you did not mention that I think we had expectations for coming into the season. Has Tyshawn Russell just been passed on the depth chart? Is he injured? What seems to be going on with him? Because I don't even know if he got snaps the other night.
He was doing pretty well, and I can't imagine he's not hurt. I have no idea. Because Beamer, if the guy on the injury report, the only thing you have to put on it is the guys that are that have a chance to play or that played, I think, the previous week or something like that. So the guys out for the season that are out for the year, he doesn't put out, or that are out for an extended period of time. It's not on the injury list. Nobody's asked him about it. But just like Big Tree, people were wondering if he was in the doghouse, and he's not. He's been banged up or whatever. So my guess is it's probably an injury. He's too experienced and too fast and too good not to at least play some. So I don't know what – I wish I had a better answer for you. I haven't asked any of my contacts about him, but I would imagine it's probably similar to Tree. As far as that, same thing with DJ Braswell. I mean, I can't imagine that, DJ was not, a guy they wanted to play. So I would speculate on those 3 guys in general that it's probably some kind of health thing.
That brings us to one thing, a couple of younger guys that stood out to you the other night. I thought the 2 young running backs, Jawan Howe and Matthew Fuller, I think those are guys that give you hope for the future. Preston, I'll start with you on that. If there was any other young guys that stood out, somebody texted in, by the way, and mentioned Fred Johnson.
Yeah, well, like I said, I've got word about Jawan, and I'm pretty hopeful about what his career holds in a Gamecock uniform. And so it was exciting to see, I guess, confirmation for what I've heard. And it looks like he got some juice in his legs, and he looks like he has the natural instincts of a running back. So that was pretty cool to see in a game time.
Yeah, those two, I think. Look, if you can get him a redshirt year, if he's got to play, he's got to play. But if you can hold on and he's a redshirt freshman next year, and Matthew Fuller's a redshirt freshman, I think you got I think you like your 1-2 punch there at running back, losing Sanders and Attaway. Your thoughts, JC?
Oh, man, I love Jawarn Howell. I mean, he reminds me of another 22 that played here, Derek Watson. He has a spin move that didn't really come out the other night, but and he's big like Derek and fast-footed. That's a bold player comparison, I know, but I love him. I think he's good. But I also love Matthew Fuller. Matthew Fuller, when he got in the game, one thing I noticed, he falls forward for positive yards even when the hole's not there. And then he's fast enough because he went around the edge to where he can gain yards that way too. I'm of the opinion, and he committed to Carolina, I think, over the summer. He played for J-Bo Shaw, Connor's brother, down in Georgia. I'm of the opinion, had we been kind of on the old recruiting rules where everybody signed in February and teams are trying to flip guys and stuff like that Carolina may have had some serious competition because he had a great senior year of high school. These days, the senior riser isn't really a thing anymore. And so I knew he was going to be pretty good, and I was very impressed the other night. I mean, shout out to whoever mentioned Fred Johnson because I was watching the same thing you were when 15 came in and how he diagnoses plays and doesn't take many false steps for a young player, and he's huge. And, I mean, that guy – he was a big-time pickup, and he's kind of like Nick Inouye in a way that, he came to Carolina. And he ended up being an Army All-American, things like that. But he kind of just came to camp one day, and Clayton White evaluated him and took him. And then it was Virginia Tech, South Carolina, kind of like Nick was, and he ended up coming to Carolina despite the Hokies really trying to flip him. So he's got a big, bright future. I mean, and he's playing right now. He's not going to redshirt. I mean, he plays in just about every game, just a few snaps here and there, and he'll continue to get better and better. But shout out to whoever mentioned that guy because that was one that really stood out to me on Saturday night.
JC, we always appreciate it each and every week for joining us. A lot of good information in there, and we will get more into it next week when we start to get ready for Ole Miss. Always appreciate you taking time. I didn't hear from the dog this morning, but that's all right.
Yeah, hey, that's a positive, right? Happy open week, fellas. Good talking to you, and see you next week.
Appreciate
Take
you,
care.
JC.
Take care. We'll come back. We'll get into a few other things JC talked about. You're listening to the early game.
And still working an earlier tie-up on I-26 eastbound around the mile marker 114. Multi-car accident there, so that's in the cleanup stages, and still going to take a little bit there. Also still getting things cleaned up, I-26 eastbound, well, just off the interstate at exit 115 as you head on to 321 in front of the pilot station. There's been a report of an accident there where involving a tractor trailer. And as far as your forecast goes, that tropical system could impact our weather later this week. Maybe a couple afternoon storms today, unrelated, 91 for the high. Some clouds tomorrow, 89. Thursday, 82. Friday, 82. But that's when we could have afternoon or evening storms into the overnight and into Friday morning. Could be some tropical downpours and winds. Right now, clear, overcast, 73.
Eight a.m. as we have gotten up and gotten going and discussed and analyzed, broke down everything we have seen, and through 3 weeks of the NFL, 4 weeks of college football, we're here to offer, let me take that back. Preston's here to offer apologies. Very rarely do I. If you ever get an apology from me, I have really, really messed up.
Yeah, I had to offer an apology early in the year. I offered it during the 6 o'clock for those just tuning in. You may have heard me during the LSU week try to rile everybody up. I tried to gain some support, and I may have called the quarterback Garrett Sussmeyer.
We called him all kinds of stuff.
Called him all kinds of Garrett Busmeyer. I think we had people chiming in. And so on behalf of all of you, I would like to offer a group apology to Mr. Nussmeyer. Not Mr. Nussmeyer, Mr. Nussmeyer.
That was what somebody did call him. Somebody also owes an apology, too.
So I would like to offer an apology because you, sir, are balling out. Garrett Nussmeyer is playing very well. I recognize that I might have to make this apology as he made a couple of third down conversions against us, against heavy fire, which he stayed cool, calm, and collected in the pocket and made those throws. And then last week against UCLA, I saw him make even more throws. And as I'm reading and doing more research, I believe he's leading the SEC in touchdowns and passing yards right now, I believe. So not passing yards, but touchdowns thrown. So I would like to offer that. And also I'd like to offer an apology to Sam Darnold.
This one I feel like could be a jinx, though.
I was very much on board.
I feel very...
No, because, listen, I was making Sam Darnold the butt of my quarterback jokes, right? I was saying, I said it on several occasions. Who you want to go into a season with? Sam Darnold? And apparently, yes, the Vikings do want to go into a season with Sam Darnold. Even though my guy J.J. McCarthy got hurt, and I think that might have saved your job, Sam, you have taken advantage of the opportunity, and you have them playing really well at 3-0 right now. So I would like to save my apology. I would like to give my apology to Sam Darnold. But maybe I would like to offer some more slander towards the quarterback down in Jacksonville.
Oh.
Because maybe he deserved it. Jen sent the text to the group chat last night, evaluating his skills, and I know we're in the 8 o'clock hour, but I don't think we can say it.
It's for the cable show.
Yeah, it's for the cable
yeah, we can't
show.
repeat the text. No.
Yeah, so the quarterback down in Jacksonville signed a huge contract, and I wonder if those folks are starting to have ask some questions.
Yeah, if you missed, that's kind of what led us down the path last night. There were 4 quarterbacks on display. Preston Thorne, 4 quarterbacks, 2 Monday night games. By the way, I like the 2 Monday night game setup.
Wasn't bad.
Let's get more of that.
Wasn't bad. I could see that.
I was very I kind of was flipping back and forth. Whereas you get the 1 Monday night game, and if it's a dud of a game, you don't know what to do. You're not really watching. It's kind of boring. 2 Monday nighters. I like, and guess what? Next week, if this became a thing, I totally missed it because this coming Monday night, 2 Monday night games, or next Monday night, I should say, a week from last night. Next week, 2 Monday night games. You've got Tennessee and Miami, Seattle and Detroit next week. I apologize for not paying attention to the NFL schedule release. If this has become a thing where we're doing 2 Monday night football games,
it's not. It is going to happen, but it's not going to be a thing moving
constant
forward.
thing.
That's not going to be a consistent thing.
Okay, because I actually enjoyed that, and we'll probably enjoy it next week. But 4 quarterbacks on display last night. 3 of them actually had really good performances, very good performances. Josh Allen and Buffalo, if you didn't know, they absolutely smoked Jacksonville 47-10 last night. And I was watching. That was the one I started watching. Josh Allen last night, 23 of 30, 263 yards, 4 touchdowns on the night. Also had 6 carries for 66 yards.
Yeah, and when you watch that game, if you didn't know anything, you say, who's the quarterback? You would look at that guy. I want that guy who runs like a tank and throws the ball very far and fast. I want him.
He looked great. It was such a beating. It was such a beating last night that one Mitchell Trubisky got into the game. The old Bears quarterback, Mitchell Trubisky, 1 of 1 last night for 3 yards in that game as well.
Good for Mitch.
Huh?
Good for him.
Hanging right, getting it.
And you know, Justin Fields, he's actually doing pretty well where he is, so it starts to make you think, maybe it's not the individual.
There's questions about that.
Maybe it's us. I don't know.
Questions.
So Josh Allen last night, fantastic. Then the great game, if you stayed up to watch it, Washington and Cincinnati. I don't want to say I'm becoming a Washington fan, but if Washington's on, I might be watching me some Jaden Daniels from now on. 21 of 23 last night, 254 yards and 2 touchdowns, and they won 38-33, knocked off Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was 29 of 38 last night for 324 and 3 touchdowns in that ball game.
Yeah, so when you say great, you mean great offensively because they didn't punt, nor did they have a turnover. So defensive coaches
beauty and eye of beholder.
Yeah, it was a very entertaining game for sure. And to your point about Jaden, I told you off air, I guess I just didn't pay this dude any attention. I know he won the Heisman last year and he was awesome and he got drafted very high. I still was like, whatever, but I don't know. It looks like he's doing some things. You said 21 of 23?
21 of 23 is what he's listed for.
Wow.
Very good last night. And yes, Jaden Daniels is because he transferred from Arizona State, where he was really good out there, but he always played those. He played for Arizona State under Herm Edwards, and we really stopped paying attention. And then at LSU, because they couldn't play defense, you were like, good player, I guess. But okay. Oh, as you said earlier, won some little award last year to wrap up the season. He was fun last night. And, that I'm interested. We got a long way to go. A long, long, long way to go. But when you look at some of these younger quarterbacks now, Preston, Burrow's still relatively young, but you got Jaden Daniels, you got C.J. Stroud, who's so well, not Bryce Young. But you get the point. You've got some young up-and-comers. And, again, it's almost like you got that middle group, which is Allen, Mahomes. I'm going to leave somebody out here, but Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar Jackson, who will always be 25. He's never going to age. You've got that, but then it feels like you've got a younger group behind them that's going to be a lot of fun to watch and develop over the years.
And that's why we always stress when we start talking about football, we always have to stress the quarterback position because you can't go forward without having Jaden Daniels. Looks like he's cement, and like you said, long way to go. We'll see. We'll figure it out maybe once the league catches up to him, all that type of stuff. But he's off to a good start.
So you had all that was taking place. And then also yesterday, this is where I'm going to anger people. Prepare accordingly. You also had yesterday the Ole Miss game time announced. 3:30. Now, there was a day and time where 3:30 on CBS really meant something. Now 3:30, a lot of you are angry and upset that we're on ABC at 3:30 in the primetime middle of the day game. You wanted that night game, which I do understand, but I kind of like the idea that I'm going to get home at about 10 o'clock, get a decent night's sleep, and hopefully wake up the next morning celebrating a victory.
Well, this is where they set us up because they gave us the window, right? They gave us.
We had the flex window.
We had a
3:30 tonight. Could have either one.
So it could have went all the way through. So 3:30 is that's a solid spot.
I'm happy with it. You can get out. I mean, again, it'll be a primetime game, middle of the day. The schedule that day, for those of you wondering. Now, this is where I do understand a little bit of frustration here from some of y'all because that day, the 12 p.m. game is going to be Missouri and Texas A&M. That'll be at College Station. This is on ABC, by the way. The 3:30 game, I think I said ABC for South Carolina. I apologize. I meant ESPN. The 3:30 ABC game will be Auburn, Georgia. Ole Miss, South Carolina will be the 3:30 ESPN game. ESPN just gobbling up what could be the really good games that day. And then the night game, right now, the night game is scheduled to be, they've got it listed twice if you haven't seen it. Or I say listed twice. Either Kansas, Arizona State will be on ESPN2 or ESPN. And it looks like Clemson will get Clemson and Florida State that day as well. Probably will get a primetime spot, I believe, as well.
All right, so we know what primetime means. We know what the big game, the marquee game was. With the new configuration, is there a marquee game? Like, which time slot is considered the marquee game? Have we made that designation yet, or are they moving away from that? It might be.
They're moving away from it, and the reason I say that is because Fox. Yeah. By the way, if you hear something in the background, an alarm or something has gone off here. We don't know what's going on. All three of us are trying to do our job, but are looking around right now to see if there's smoke anywhere. But if you hear something in the background, an alarm has gone off somewhere in the building, and we're trying to figure out where. But the Fox does their big noon kickoff, which now if you get you can get these big. I'm glancing real quick at the Big Ten schedule. Like you've got Michigan at Washington, a rematch of the national championship game that day coming up on October 5th. But yeah, with them doing the big noon kickoff, I think it moves around significantly as to what is the marquee time slot, if you will.
Gotcha, that makes sense.
Plus, it used to be back. I mean, Preston, when you played and I watched in college, way back when. There wasn't. I mean, look at, good Lord. You got the ACC network. You got CBS Sports Network. You got ESPN. You got ABC. You got CBS. You also got ESPN Pluses. You got ESPN U's. Apparently, for those of you who are interested on October the 5th, True TV will have Nevada and San Jose State joining them. You got SEC Network that night with Central Florida at Florida in a 7:45 game. It used to be, 7:45 primetime ESPN, Ron Franklin. That's your primetime game. Can't wait for that. Now you got so many games on, I don't think it matters quite as much as it used to.
Just to add on to this, I was offering my apology earlier. I found you talked about Jaden Daniels. He was pretty good. Well, Garrett Nussmeier has the most completions of any LSU quarterback ever through the first 4 games. So,
yeah,
I was not familiar with your game, Mr. Garrett.
All I'll say is this: get out of there. Go to the NFL this year. You and Quinn Ewers just get on out of there so when we go to Baton Rouge next year, we don't see Garrett Nussmeier. We don't want him harboring any ill will towards you when South Carolina goes down there. 803-404-6100. We'll get back into some grades as well as Preston wants to talk about two-way players. Is one particular guy the best two-way player ever?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
We'll get into that a little bit this morning as we roll along. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It's the early game.
Did you know you can now use your body's own healing properties to revitalize your achy joints, and you don't have to keep living with joint pain? Real lasting relief is possible with help from QC Kinetics. People here in Columbia are getting their lives back and getting their mobility back thanks to QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in cellular therapies that can revitalize your joints. I'm talking about advanced regenerative medicine using your own body's healing properties, highly concentrated and carefully placed in your achy joints. Back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, these are cutting-edge treatments that require no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. It's a quick in-office procedure. So you owe it to yourself to learn more and call QC Kinetics today for a free consultation. Call 803-281-6860. That's 803-281-6860.
Still should be expecting a little bit of a slowdown on I-26 eastbound just after Airport Boulevard because of a multi-car accident. So do be careful in that area. And other accidents things seem to be moving along a little bit better. So hopefully your commute will get better as time goes on. Of course, still some slowdowns there in Malfunction Junction as well. 91 for the high today. Might see an afternoon storm. 89 Thursday, high of 82, as well as on Friday, afternoon, evening, and overnight rain, potentially gusty winds and more tropical type rains Thursday night into Friday morning. 73 right now.
$8:18 as we roll along here on your Tuesday morning. Reminder, September is Hunger Action Month. The Game and Hardee's teaming up for the Hardee's Roundup. Just go to your participating Hardee's and round up your bill to the nearest dollar amount. All donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. So get on over to a Hardee's today. Grab yourself a little lunch, burger, chicken tenders, something like that, and round up your bill to the nearest dollar. All donations will go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. Again, it's the Game and Hardee's teaming up for the Hardee's Roundup here because September is Hunger Action Month. Message board mayhem real quick. Well, you basically just go if you want to. Go to North Carolina's message board real quick, Preston Thorne. Now we're debating what exactly is a resignation. Did Mac Brown resign during the post-game locker room speech on Saturday to get that? Well, here, we've got this. Now, Mac Brown clarified what a resignation is or what he did. Here is a little message board mayhem sponsored by the Miles Agency. It's going to be audio mayhem. Here's Mac Brown yesterday.
I was very disappointed in the game, disappointed in me. And as you all know, I don't handle things well after losses. It's probably the worst times in my life because I've got a spoiled life. And walking off the field, I was really disappointed because we had a great week's practice. We're 3-0. Felt really good about the team, and we made entirely too many mistakes during the ball game. So as I was walking off the field, I thought, I'm responsible for all this. It's on me, so I should ask the players about leadership and if they feel good about me moving forward. And that's something I shouldn't do. I shouldn't put that pressure on those young people at that point. And I'm supposed to be a leader, and probably the worst things I've ever said in my life are after losses. You all have heard most of them, and that's just what I do. So disappointed in me. I should have waited, but the kids were overwhelmingly, no, come on, Coach, let's go, let's move forward, and we're doing that, and excited about the future, and love my job, and love these kids, love this place, and that's why I hate losing so much, and didn't really think that much about it after we did it, and moving forward and looking forward to playing Duke this weekend.
I think I want to just change a few words, but use that when I say something inappropriate or when I'm angry to my family. I don't handle it well. I'm sorry. You know I love you. I love this place.
There was a point about having a spoiled life, too. And Mac was like, listen, man, I've won a lot of games, man. You know what time it is, man. Y'all know how I get.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I want to start using now. Whenever I say something inappropriate to the family. And now,
listen, I do not condone lockers, video in the locker room, audio in the locker. I do not condone that. However, I would love to hear what he actually said. What did he do? Was it along the lines of, man, y'all want me to quit? Yeah. Y'all gonna make me quit. I wonder something along those lines of like, if you don't want to do it, I'll quit. Yeah. I'll go home. I wonder what exactly he said to that point where the player's like, nah, Coach, come on, man. But You got to think how much football Mac Brown has seen and been a part of to be blindsided by this type of event. I'm sure he was like, hold on a second. Maybe I am missing something. Maybe.
Yeah, you're 73, Mac. Your bank account's full. Your life, you're healthy. Seems like the family's doing fine. Settle down. Relax. Get the defense fixed.
He got that, but he said, we were 3-0. He had a great week of practice. He's like, what happened?
Yeah, what'd y'all do? I highly doubt he took a lot of the blame himself. I feel like there's a defensive coordinator somewhere who did not have a good Saturday night, Sunday afternoon either. 803-404-6100. It's a little message board mayhem. So you got situations there. You got situations out west. Colorado, I think, is pretty happy with themselves. They did not get any votes in the AP poll. By the way, South Carolina got 7. But Preston, I actually am a little surprised Travis Hunter is not, it seems, more in the discussion for the Heisman. It feels like everybody right now wants to give it to Cam Ward down at Miami. And he's been fantastic. He's throwing the ball over the yard, and they're absolutely just blowing people out. You look at Miami's schedule, I'd love to tell you that we're going to get a good Miami game coming up in the next few weeks. But right now, I don't know when they'll actually play someone that has any kind of substance that'll give us an idea of what Miami really is. They've got Virginia Tech this coming Saturday night. That'll be followed by going out to Cal. Virginia Tech this Friday night, not Saturday night. Cal. And then maybe the 19th, they play a ranked Louisville team. Florida State, Duke, Georgia Tech.
Hold on, Duke's 4-0.
Florida State, Duke, Georgia Tech. Yep, Manny Diaz. November the 2nd.
Ooh, revenge game.
Revenge game. Games, by the way, in Miami. Manny comes home to spoil everything.
Ooh, okay. There's some juice there.
At Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Syracuse are the Hurricanes' schedule. If they don't go undefeated, I don't know what to tell you. And then play what I can only assume will be Clemson in the ACC championship game. But Cam Ward's the guy. But Travis Hunter, what he's doing is ridiculous. And I'd vote him as the Heisman winner.
I mean, all the statistics back it up. The most incredible statistic is that he's playing 131 snaps per game. And you remember last year with the TCU game happens? Like, he won't be able to do this. He's not going to do this all the time. There's no way. Yes, he is doing this all the time. And not only just out there, he's making plays. He's 4th in the nation with 37 catches, wide receiver. He's only allowed 11 receptions defending all year. So he's playing every snap on offense, every snap on defense. And not only is he playing, he's making plays. If you remember the first game of the season was at South Dakota State. Yeah. He was the only person if he was not playing in that game, they would have lost. Fast forward to this game against Baylor. He scores the touchdown. He scores the touchdown, not the Hail Mary, but he scores the touchdown. Then he makes the final play, fumble to force to end the game in overtime before it goes into overtime. So he's not only just out there, he's making plays. And it led me to this question. Is he the best two-way player ever? I know. I grew up.
I got a guy that I would just out of loyalty, I'm going to take over him.
I know, and I think that's what we're all going to probably try and do. But I know we're going to break. But I want to just leave us with this: is Travis Hunter the best two-way player in college football ever?
You want us to debate that on the other side?
I'm just saying. I know, because I know what people are going to do, and all I'm asking you to steal is maybe take off your nostalgia glasses a little bit.
Wait, are we going to go with the same player, or
there's 2 candidates in my mind, and I think he might be better than both of them.
Go ahead. We got a second. Go ahead.
Charles Woodson.
That's my guy.
Okay.
Who's the other one?
Champ Bailey.
I forgot about Champ.
Mm-hmm. Champ. I'm going to really hurt your feelings because Charles Woodson is 3rd. Start, bench, cut Charles Woodson.
Oh, no. Start, bench, cut. Who is your 3? If you got those 3, is there another one that we're forgetting?
That's what I got right now.
Well, you got his coach. Is Prime? I don't know what Prime. I have no clue. As I bring this up, I have no clue what Prime's statistics are from Florida State offensively.
That's what I want. That's what I need to look up.
We'll do that. We'll come back. We'll get into this. We'll also get back into the grades from yesterday, Pro Football Focus. One really good one that we're starting to look at a little bit closer. and asking some questions. We'll tell you about those, and we'll get into this two-way player discussion. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It's the early game.
Hey, it's Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. It was fun to visit them last week when the station was doing a broadcast from out there. I was reminded of so many things that they have available to their potential consumers. All the different things like there's a hamper that is built in. You can even have a little security system in a drawer for a bathroom or for a bedroom. And I'm thinking about everything and I'm stuttering because there's so much variety and different types of finishes to cabinets and so many different accessories. And that's what they were really helpful in, is helping us find all of those things. So when we put our kitchen together, it was perfect. It was a great experience all the way around. If you want to create an office workspace, anything else in your home, visit chwcabinetry.com. Call them today at 803-520-6837. Be sure to tell them Jen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation. Getting things cleaned up there on I-26 eastbound after Airport Boulevard. So if there's still a bit of a slowdown to go, they should be getting that cleared in just a little bit. It was a multi-car accident, so taking a little while to get that taken care of. And as far as forecast goes, we will see some remnants or some things that have to do with that tropical system that's going to be coming in. Might see a couple afternoon or evening storms today. 91 for the high, 89 tomorrow. 82 on Thursday and Friday. Evening rain, potential tropical downpours. Heavy winds are possible Thursday night into Friday morning. We'll keep an eye on that system and let you know more about it as it makes its way this direction. But right now, it is overcast and it is holding steady at 73 on the early game.
Remind you about the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. It continues to roll on. No special teams touchdowns this past week, and that means the pot is currently $500. So if you can go and register, go to 1075thegame.com and get registered, you could win $500 during the Mississippi game if South Carolina can score a special teams touchdown. They've been so close. You had the holding call. Was it a holding or an eligible man downfield in the opener against Old Dominion where Brady Hunt caught the long pass, pushed off, but nonetheless caught it, but got called back. The blocked punt, so close, but didn't make it. So South Carolina's close. They did get the 2-point conversion, but that didn't count.
Which Brian Kelly said was illegal, but we're not talking about that game anymore.
The blocked punt?
Yeah, we're not talking about that. Not talking about that game anymore, but Brian Kelly did say it was illegal.
Yeah, we'll do it. As you can hear in the background there, we've got something playing in some kind of background. There you go. Yep, but it's the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. Again, go. You can sign up anywhere. You don't have to be just here in the Midlands. Go today to 1075thegame.com and get registered, and you could win $500. If there isn't one, another $100 will go into the pot. I see what y'all are doing. Y'all are trying to upset Preston. You're trying to get him riled up. Justin weighs in regarding Travis Hunter. He's not the best player at any single position this season. How can you be the best two-way player ever? Come on, get off the Dion train.
Oh, if you haven't listened to the show, I am not on the Dion train. In fact, this hurts my heart. Tomorrow I'm going to do a segment on how hard it is to be a hater that he's winning. But besides that, yes, he is not the single best position player at any position, but he's the best two-way position player.
On our live stream, we've got someone who says, I've got Charles and Champ being the best two-way players, but Travis is a close third. Would Travis Hunter be even more exciting to watch if he played for a national championship contender? I can only imagine the impact he would make in Kalen DeBoer or Josh Heupel's offense.
That's a very interesting point. Very interesting point is that his team is not going to have some of the significance, which is why I would argue that maybe Charles Woodson maybe got some of this bump here for these statistics that I would say are they're okay.
Don't do that.
They're all right. I'm just saying.
Don't do that. Colorado, by the way, this week, they are taking on Gus Malzahn and UCF. Colorado's 3-1. Remember, we thought at this point they might be 1-3, and they're 3-1. I've not looked at Vegas spreads yet for the week, but they are at UCF 3:30 on Fox. That might be worth tuning into. We'll probably look here in a minute at the weekend slate here and just give you a rundown. But then they get Kansas State. Then they got Arizona. They got Cincinnati. Texas Tech just through November 9th. Yeah, they're not going to be. I don't think they're going to become irrelevant.
No, they're not. They're not. Not at this point. I think they made it through the point. And again, those games were very close and definitely pulled one out of their keister against Baylor and for that game. But a win is a win, and they're moving forward. But to address that really quickly, again, he's fourth in the nation in catches with 37, sixth in the nation with 472 yards, and he's a top 10 coverage guy according to PFF. So, no, he's not number one, but he is very high in all those positions.
So, by the way, let's be clear on this. Do you consider a punt returner to be just a kickoff punt returner to be a two-way player? Because, and I'm assuming the answer is no, because text always in it says, I think Savell Newton is one of the best. He was literally good at every position he played, and quarterback is the toughest position on the field, but that's only on offense. We looked it up in the break. At least from what we could find, I don't see any offensive statistics for Deion Sanders. I thought he might have played wide receiver or something and thrown him out there time too. He had a lot of punt returns in his career, but I cannot find anything, at least looking during that break, that suggests he played any snaps at wide receiver, which I believe he then did in the NFL when he got to the NFL.
He did play some in the NFL, and to go back to Savell was amazing, a multiplayer offensively. He did play defense, but he was not an impact player on defense.
Oh, that's right. They moved him over to safety for a game or two, or wasn't much though, was it?
He went back to offense.
Yeah, quickly. 803-404-6100, how you can weigh in. A couple of y'all do it. Colorado, 14.5-point underdog to Central Florida, and Ronnie going with give me Stephon Gilmore, one of our own.
Okay, that's a solid pick, but again, I'm going to put up these numbers. Steph was good. He didn't do this.
No, not Travis Hunter, not Charles Woodson either. So we got that.
Or Champ Bailey.
Yeah, I forgot about Chad.
Well, by the way, he had 744 receiving yards during that 1990. I mean, he was a viable two-way dude. 52 tackles, 3 picks, kickoff returns. I'm not saying, Bill, this to get you upset, but I'm just saying if I had to do start bench cut, I'm just saying.
One other I'll just throw at you. I'm trying to think. Other options. And now as I say this out loud, I need to go back and see what his offensive stats were, because I believe at Miami, see if you know who I'm about to go to, I believe Devin Hester played wide receiver a little bit. I think. I'm trying to kind of do this on the fly here, but I believe Hester played a little bit of wide receiver and didn't just run punts back. But I'll have to go back and look at that.
See, that's the point. You making the point. When you have to go to, I think he did,
yeah.
Or maybe yeah. No. We know Travis Hunter plays both sides of the ball. We know he plays both sides of the ball well. We know Charles Woodson did those things both well. And obviously, we have to remind ourselves about Champ, but the statistics back it up.
By the way, Devin Hester, you mentioned Champ Bailey had what in a year?
744 receiving.
Yeah. Devin Hester had 160 for 3 years.
Yeah.
You get the point. There you go.
I do get the point.
196. He had 160 rushing, 196 receiving through 3 years.
Also, Devin Hester has to be really thankful that his career happened when it did, because the return game is basically eliminated now.
In the NFL?
Yeah, and I'm not sure that would exist.
And kind of in the college game, too, unless you're BYU. But, yeah, that's a good point. Real quick, just a rundown for the weekend, Preston. We'll start on Thursday night with Army-Temple. By the way, Temple last week knocking off Utah State. It's a good win, right?
Pac-12's own Utah State.
Exactly. If you didn't see the news yesterday, Utah State. I'm interested, by the way, to see if the Pac-12 is just going to call themselves the State Conference. They got 7 teams in it. Let's see if we can all do this together if you've been paying attention. Can you name all 7 teams that are currently in the Pac-12? They got to get one more, by the way. They got to get one more to be considered an official conference. You got to get 8.
The Pac-12 needs to get one more
to get to be the Pac-8, and they're currently the Pac-7. You see where all this is going. You're now dealing with Washington State, Oregon State, Boise State, Fresno State, San Jose State,
Colorado State, and Utah State.
Nice. We got it.
Nice.
Good job. I say just stick with that and go find me another state program. Just who else is out there?
Mississippi State might be available.
We're just going to kick them out.
Yeah.
Go get Texas State.
They're actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Texas State is actually pretty good.
UNLV yesterday kind of UNLV did the old the middle school thing yesterday where they kind of pledged to one person, but by the afternoon they had switched back and were contemplating another person because they kind of told the Mountain West, hey, we're gonna pledge our allegiance to you. Only late yesterday afternoon to be like, yeah, we're gonna look around a little bit more and see if that Pac-12 wants to invite us. And it does make sense for the Pac-12, even though UNLV does not get to have the state in their name.
UNLV State?
They may as well.
You have to change your name.
Yeah. You got to change your whole school name. But you would think it makes sense for the Pac-12 just to gobble up Vegas in that manner and be like, all right, we're having the basketball championships there, our basketball tournament. We're having the Pac-12 football game, whatever that conference is going to call itself, by the way. We're going to have the championship there at Allegiant Stadium.
That's where they previously played it.
Yeah. Did they? Did they play it one year? I know that it had been at San Francisco for a few years.
They played it there the past 2 years, I believe. They played it in Vegas. So
just
there's
go
a
ahead and do
possibility
that.
for that.
But by the way, so the schedule for the weekend, real quick: Temple hosting Army on Thursday night. Friday night, you actually got you got that well-known big Big Ten matchup. Big Ten with 16 teams. How many teams does the Big Ten have now? I blank on that. But Washington traveling all the way across the country to Piscataway. Washington and Rutgers, 8 o'clock Friday night on Fox.
Underrated game. Rutgers playing well.
Rutgers is undefeated again. Virginia Tech and Miami also Friday night. Keep an eye on Miami there.
Overrated game.
Really?
Virginia Tech not playing well.
No. Noon games on Saturday. Decent little start here. We learned something about Ole Miss on Saturday. They will host Kentucky. I don't know what we'll learn, but I feel like we'll learn something.
Yeah, I guess that's dependent on which Kentucky team shows up, the team that played us or the team that played against Georgia. We'll see.
Mississippi a 17.5-point favorite in that. Michigan hosting Minnesota. Michigan now back up to 12 after knocking off Southern Cal. I see you shaking your head. That means you're thinking overrated.
Fool's gold.
Oklahoma State and Kansas State. Any game involving Oklahoma State seems to be very entertaining right now. There's just a lot going on with that program, and Kansas State just coming off being obliterated by BYU in Provo late Saturday night. BYU, speaking of which, in the rankings, number 22, they go to Baylor. That's basically about your noon slate if you want to get into any of those games. 3:30, Wisconsin at Southern Cal. Louisville at Notre Dame. That game will actually be on Peacock, not on NBC, but it'll be on Peacock. That's a 15-16 game. Oklahoma at Auburn. Nobody knows who they're playing at quarterback in that game. Just that's whoever wants to play quarterback. Going out and don't throw an interception.
A little bit late for Message Board Mayhem, but we can call it X Mayhem. I saw an Auburn account who just said, "Meanwhile, Robbie Ashford's balling."
Oh, I wish I'd have seen that. Yeah. Oklahoma and Auburn. Arkansas, Texas A&M on Saturday as well. 3:30 on ESPN. We mentioned Colorado at Central Florida. 3:30 on Fox. Then that leads us into the big rivalry. Mac Brown may still be coaching. We don't know. North Carolina at Duke, 4 o'clock on ESPN2. Mississippi State goes to Texas, 4:15 on the SEC network. Preston lets us know, don't watch that unless you just like watching Texas score a whole lot of points. Night game, Stanford at Clemson at 7 o'clock on ESPN. Always, it feels like when Ohio State plays Michigan State, Ohio State wins by 50 or gets upset. That game will be 7 o'clock on Peacock as well. And, of course, the big one on Saturday night, Georgia, Alabama, 7:30 on ESPN. And just in case that doesn't whet your appetite, how about this? Number 19th ranked Illinois at number 9 Penn State.
Go Fighting Illini.
Let's go. Come on, Step. We need you.
Get fired up.
It's hard days to be a hater, and I need them guys to lose.
We'll also have late night football, 11 o'clock, well-known Big Ten matchup, Oregon at UCLA on Fox. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the program here. You're listening. Oh, and we'll give away tickets. We got tickets to give away to Mississippi. We'll do that when we come back as well, so get your dialing fingers ready. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and the family, they have been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry, not just here in Columbia, but across the state of South Carolina. Did you know the old Planet Hollywood down in Myrtle Beach, they actually roofed that one time, which meant Mid-State Roofing roofed the world. That is exactly right. And they'll do the same for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mid-State Roofing will take your phone call and they'll help you with a maintenance contract. 803-356-1919. You heard that right. 803-356-1919. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You'll speak with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee. So they want to help you protect that roof because whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, manufacturing or industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation dry and running long into the future. So give them a phone call today. Tell them you heard it with here with Bill Gunner, 107.5 The Game, 803-356-1919. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. Are tax troubles weighing you down? Have they been stressing you out, keeping you up at night? If so, it's time to call John Ecton and his team. They know how to navigate the IRS maze, and they're ready to help you. They've done this with thousands of families and businesses just like yours. So if you've received one of those dreaded notices of intent to levy or the IRS is after you, call today. Call the superhero, John Ecton and their team, and get a free consultation. 803-771-9800. Again, that's 803-771-9800. And you heard that right. They'll offer a free consultation. They have a local team dedicated to resolving your income or business tax issues for good because they understand the challenges that you're facing. They understand the stress you're dealing with. Don't let that happen. John Ecton and his team have proven local solutions. Again, they've helped thousands of families and businesses just like yours. So give them a phone call today and tell them Bill Gunner sent you. 803-771-9800. Call John Ecton today. Caller 6, that's the ranking for Mississippi. We'll see if we can jinx them a little bit. Might be a question that we ask you this week. Would you rather Mississippi win and come here undefeated or lose and be a little down? But caller number 6, 803-404-6100. You can win some tickets to South Carolina, Mississippi next Saturday, 3:30. Rock Lucas, our good buddy from Charwood, weighed in and said his crew loves the 3:30 games. I'm on board with rocking them. It's a good tailgating time, and 2 weeks from now we'll have to check the weather, but it should be a great day to get out there and tailgate, watch a little football, and get ready for that particular Saturday afternoon game.
Yeah, 3:30 is a good time slot. I mean, the 7:30 game, it's good for the kids. When I say kids, I mean the youngins.
Yeah.
But, man, that's a rough one. That's rough as you get up in age a little bit.
So, real quick, do you like that? Would you rather Kentucky win and come in here top 5? They'll move up. They'll at least move up to 5, no worse than 5, because Georgia, I assume whoever loses Georgia, Alabama is going to drop out of the top 5.
Yeah, bring them in undefeated.
You would prefer that?
Yeah, let's go.
ESPN Game Day is at Georgia, Alabama this weekend. That was an easy one. I don't know what they're going to pick next week. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody in the production department is looking around and like, guys, I mean, we kind of left some stuff back in Columbia. You want to go back? Did y'all have a good steak somewhere you want to go back and see or something?
They've already been. I mean, do you go to Tallahassee for Florida State, who maybe 1-4? They've got SMU this weekend.
You can't do that. And to be fair, they can't come back. They could have come back here if we would have won that LSU game.
It's true.
This game would have been maybe a game between two high-ranked teams or two possibly top 20 or top 15 teams, maybe. But I don't think you could justify coming back for us being a non-ranked team.
I genuinely don't know where they're going to go next week. Again, you don't have, at least as we sit here today, you don't have another ranked versus ranked matchup. Not that South Carolina's ranked and that would be one, but the only other one you've got, or the only ranked, again, we're talking a week and a half out, Missouri at Texas A&M. You've already been to Texas A&M. Auburn's at Georgia. I don't think they would want to go to Georgia. I guess if Georgia wins, I guess the only logical place to go is Ohio State for Iowa at Ohio State. Go to Columbus.
Sure. But then there might be a double site because that might be the big noon game and you have to get into all that. They've done it before, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So you are right about that. Had of South Carolina beat LSU, they would be back here. South Carolina would be ranked.
But we're not talking about that game anymore.
Nah, we're letting that one go.
We're going to let it go.
Or trying to let it go. Mm-hmm. Tennessee's at Arkansas also that day. Maybe if Arkansas can knock off Texas A&M this week, maybe you go to Arkansas and go somewhere different.
Maybe
that's what I'd say. Arkansas would be 4-1 if they beat Texas A&M. Go out there, Tennessee. Maybe that'd be entertaining. Maybe they're looking ahead. Tennessee's got some big games coming up later on the season. Maybe you'd rather save Tennessee for later on and again go do something. Go try something different. Something again. I don't know. Would you rather save Ohio State for later in the year as well? But even then, there's not even a game that I'm looking at like, yeah, go check out that place. Go see what's going on there. So we'll see. 803-404. 6100. Final thoughts today. We were talking about grades there, and
we went over the grades. Robbie obviously graded out very high, 93.8. Had a tremendous game, as the folks from Auburn have noticed that he played very well. The offensive line did not play as well as maybe your eyes could see. Maybe we all got fooled a little bit by the amount of yards.
I'm surprised by that grade, and I'll be honest. I was surprised that even J.C. Sherbet came on and said the offensive line took a step back. Maybe it's because they did what I wanted them to, and they just came out. Maybe the grades are bad because of pass blocking. I don't know, but I'm a little surprised by the grades there, and it's raised the question that I think needs to be fixed going into October.
Overall, the offensive line, only one person graded above a 60, and the 60 is only your bare minimum of being able to win a game. Nobody graded out above a 60, and there was some that was significantly lower than that. So that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on, because in order for this team to progress, they're going to have to improve on the offensive line.
Again, Casey Henry is the guy we look at. We do have and Shane Beamer, reminder, Shane not speaking today, off week, and reminder, Carolina calls tomorrow night, but it'll be with Lamont Paris and Derek Scott. We'll have that for you, but it'll be Lamont and Derek Scott tomorrow night. But no Shane Beamer, because we did have some questions about guys. Tree Babalade, Tyshawn Russell, DJ Braswell. Were they just held out? They injured? I know he did say Babalade was injured. We'll see. We'll come back. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Preston's got some other apologies?
Yeah, more apologies tomorrow.
Okay, look forward to it. Bill Gunner for Zerust Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. You know it is that time of year where you don't want to spend time cleaning your house. What you want to do is you want to be watching football, watching Major League Baseball playoffs. You want to be watching great sports and spending time with the family. And if you are cleaning your home, well, you're not able to do that. That's why I let the pros at Zerust Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning clean mine. And right now, you can take advantage of a fall savings event and get 20% off all cleaning services. That's right, 20% off carpets, air ducts, area rugs, and more when you mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game. You can easily schedule online, ZerustColumbia.com, or give them a phone call. 803-262-4020. Give them a phone call. Mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, and get 20% off all cleaning services. That's 20% off carpets, air ducts, area rugs, and more. Just mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, and you will get that deal. Again, 803-262-4020 or ZerustColumbia.com. Zerust, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.